diversity, equity, and inclusion. You know, the fact that we live in a world where this term exists really shows.
We live in a society.
I leave that to your interpretation. On paper, it's really good because everyone gets equal rights and equal opportunity. Like, who will be against that? My only problem is that when it's applied to video games, like not video game companies, although it has its own problems, but like the actual video game product in terms of writing, character design, and how it impacts the overall main protagonist and its surrounding characters. Again, I've said it and I will say it again, video games are meant to be fun, period. No more, no less. Examples of video games revolving around DEI are Dustborn and Concord. They failed miserably, with only having 83 and 697 all-time peak players, respectively. For some perspective, Cities Skylines and The Witcher 3 are 9-year-old games, and they currently have an average of 10,000 and 18,000 concurrent players right now. Adding salt to injury, even E.T., the game back in 1982, considered one of the worst games of all time, sold over 2.6 million copies. Let that sink in. Let's talk about Dustborn, a game where the core mechanic is being triggered and shouting at people for having different views than you.
You are racist.
I'm not even making this up. Who genuinely thought that we want to play as Twitter users who gets offended by the smallest insignificant matter over the internet? It's very ironic that a game about DEI, but the main protagonist abuses her voice powers to get people to do what she wants, and the police in the game seems more reasonable than the main group. And another thing, this game's whole message is about going against the government, but it's actually funded by the government, funded by the EU.
Dustborn was funded by European money, aka the people's paying taxes. Yeah, but how much money though? $150,000. Why? Why would you give them, like, who's making these decisions?
Wow, look at all those money wasted. Fun fact, the main character hates robots because he's the only one not affected by her voice powers. I thought a game about DEI would promote active listening, assertive speaking, but no, it's about shouting at people for having different views than you. Before I forget, this main group is actually a music band, and the music is cringe. Okay, here's the thing, okay? This is what happens when video games try to shove ideologies down people's throats. We play video games to escape the real world, to relax and have fun, not to be lectured, looked down upon, and sit through cringy dialogue. Just like the title of the game, Dustborn, the game will only continue to collect dust in the dustbin. Also, 83 peak all-time player represents the modern audience, or in other words, loud Twitter users that complain about games but never actually played them. This is what happens when you don't pander to the target audience, the real gamers. Moving on to Concord, where it is $40 on a market where most of their competitors are free to play.
Oh, I see. It's Concord with a $40 price tag when every other competitor is free to play.
The game lasted less than 2 weeks after its launch. Yes, it got released on the 23rd September and it was pulled out of the stores on 3rd October. That's only 11 days. The game's budget is $400 million to make.
Concord cost about $400 million to make.
The game is competing against Overwatch 2, Valorant, and Apex Legends that are free and multiple times more engaging and nice to look at. Speaking of being nice to look at the game characters' design. What do they have in common? They are unattractive. And that's an understatement. I'm not going through each character design because I'm not a professional game designer and it's also subjective. What I am going to do is show you objective data. I'm going to pull out a very crude example, but it proves my point. If we look at 2022 and 2023 year review of a certain website, oh, would you look at that? There is Overwatch, Valorant, and Apex Legends.
Coincidence? I think not!
Look, the truth of life is people like to see attractive things, whether be it person or object. People like to see Hollywood artists, K-pop idols, anime characters. People like gold and diamond jewelry. Alright, enough of teabagging a game that already failed. Let's look at a successful game that has DEI inserted on it in a stupid way. I hate pointing this out because I quite like the franchise. I'm talking about Spider-Man 2. They changed a literal language. The Spanish language has gendered words and somehow they make new words so that it's neutral. Let's think about this for a second. Changing a language without their consent. And of course, all the Spanish-speaking people also agree that it's stupid.
El hombre al mando, Harry Osborn, tiene buena reputación. Y encima ha contratado a mi científica de abejas favorite, Leapidólogue M. Jong. Es le mayor experta en el desorden de colapso de colonias.
Nope. A continuation of Western cultures appropriating the Spanish language and the Spanish culture to incorporate non-gender conforming language on behalf of all Americans that are not mentally ill. I would like to apologize to the Spanish community.
Who can we thank for this stupidity? Sweet Baby Inc. And it's not only them, there's a ton more, and you can check DEI-detected website because the creator got so tired of this nonsense, and he's from Brazil, by the way. It started as a Steam group curator as Sweet Baby Inc. Detected, but the creator realized that there is way more than Sweet Baby Inc. So it got relabeled as DEI Detected. I'm not saying that every game that has DEI in it is bad, it's just that it's quite concerning that we're normalizing this behavior. It's because they don't know anything about game development. They just shove gender swapping, race swapping, and it doesn't make a better product. If your whole character revolves around their gender, race, or sexual orientation, let's say it now, it becomes a one-dimensional characters. I don't care about any of those as long as the character is well written. You don't need to alter existing characters or IPs. Just make new ones with those traits and make good story and writing. Another stupid example is a wheelchair character in Rainbow Six Siege. Like, why? No one envies a disabled person on wheelchairs. If we're being honest, we play games to be badasses. The problem is not the wheelchair. The problem is that the character can make autonomous robots, but she can't make an exoskeleton for herself to walk. Why isn't the robot helping her out by pushing the wheelchair? The character is Greek, and the Greeks have been waiting for representation, and what they get is a robot in the battlefield while the actual character is just controlling behind the scenes. Like, that's gotta be so disappointing. I hope they never make an Indonesian character. Like, it doesn't matter, and I also don't care, because they're just gonna ruin it anyway. Ubisoft, oh Ubisoft. Let's talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows and Yasuke. I'm not a Japanese history expert, but it's quite concerning how their consultant is a Sweet Baby Inc. employee, and she wrote a story about a relationship between a monk and an underage boy. That's the person you want advising you, not an actual Japanese person. Heck, they don't even show up to Tokyo Game Fest because they know they'll just be clowns there. I don't have a problem with Yasuke, I have a problem with them claiming that there's a black samurai in the history book, which there isn't. Look at Ghost of Tsushima, a story about a Japanese man named Jin. It's intriguing and engaging. Why? Because it's well written. Did Asians suddenly become not diverse enough for you? They delayed the game to February because it's Black History Month, and if the game fails, they'll just call gamers racist. You can quote me on that. Gosh, the word racist, sexism, misogynistic, woke has lost all meaning at this point. So in closing, before I explode in frustration, these are just food for thought and factors considered before buying a video game. Buying video games has become so complex over the last few years because of all this nonsense. Please don't take this as telling you how to think. But these are just real world examples of how stupid it is. And yeah, don't forget to check the website, it's in the description. Thanks for watching. If this video informs you of any news stories, please leave a like and comment down on what you think about all this. And as for the next video, I don't know yet.